video, we've got to start building on the Samurai. I build 2.0 part 2, building some frame plates for the back of the Samurai, and then we've got to build the spring hangers. Let's do it. All right, new video. We are continuing where we left off last time. We've got a ton of plate to cut to basically plate the frame, and the back is the side we're working on right now. I don't have any plasma cutter or anything to cut it out, so we're doing it old school. We're doing it with the cutting wheels. Takes forever, super tiring to hold that angle grinder nice and straight, and then, you know, we got to clean up the edges, blah blah blah. Definitely got to get a plasma cutter or something soon. This is just getting ridiculous. We've got one plate cut over here. I'm also cutting out like some 1.25-inch holes so we can weld the insides of them too. Hopefully this one I did for the passenger side is the same on the driver's side, so I don't have to do a new template. Hopefully it's at least pretty close. All right, probably gonna be some time-lapse action because this is a lot of cutting, a lot of grinding, and then we'll work on getting them tacked on. All right, let's do it. So instead of doing cardboard aided design, I'm doing the folder aided design. This folder is a lot easier to work with because it's so thin. I can just cut it with scissors, and a piece this long I just knew it was going to take forever to cut out. No big deal. Getting a hamstring stretch, you know, get my squats in, keeping me flexible. But man, this is really an exhausting part to do. I can't wait to upgrade some equipment, you know, something to cut this out a little bit better. Maybe even use Cut Send Cut or a company like that to get these pieces in the future. You know, a lot of people give me a hard time about using Ryobi products. I just bought them when I bought this house and I started doing a bunch of woodworking stuff, you know, home improvement. I told myself I was going to swap out to Milwaukee products, and I have been, but as far as like drills go and grinders and all that, I'm not going to buy one for no reason. I need the Ryobi one to die, and it won't. Especially using it as a hole saw. I thought for sure it's going to die by now, but it keeps on living, so keep on using it. It's a bit of a relief to see that these frame plates are very close, so I didn't have to make a whole new template, and I could actually trace these holes onto the second one. And you can see as I put this thing up here, it actually works pretty well, and the only thing that could screw it up this point are my welds, which, spoiler alert, yeah, not the best. We're done with the frame plates. The other one's over there sitting all messy. We've got the passenger side clamped in place right here. This part needed to be pushed in a little bit, so we got a heavy duty clamp. But after we tack that, we're gonna have to lower the back just a tad, but so far it looks like a pretty good fit. We've got a little bit more grinding to do to prep for the welding, and here we go. So one thing I've tried to incorporate into this build is a lot of throwbacks to typical Samurai builds, especially with YJ spring swap. So I want to utilize the stock spring hangers, and just like somebody would for swapping to some YJ springs, you know, the brackets that clamp onto the outside, except in this case we'll be welding them onto the outside. Got the rough outline of the spring hangers. All four need to be the same, so cut them out, welded them up. Now we'll have to true these all up, and then I'll probably just use this as the template to hit that big hole, start drilling out for the bolt that's gonna hold the leaf springs on there. So this is what they look like. Very simple design, and you can see the top of the brackets actually line up really close to where the bottom of the frame plate is. So what I decided to do is put a flat plate on the top right here, and then a vertical plate on the back, and then just come up with some gusseting that I can do to, you know, basically tie it all together. So we've got the frame plates welded up, and now we're starting to put all those gussets on the spring hanger. But you can see we have this huge gap where the body mounts go right here, and I just want to put a plate over it and still be able to access the body mounts. So that's the goal, and that's what I'm cutting out right here.
I decided to use a 4-inch hole saw, this time with Ryobi, to maybe kill it for sure, and once again, it does not die. It cuts it out. Is it the fastest hole? Definitely not, but it does it, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ever going to get these Milwaukee tools. I'm just going to keep trying to kill the Ryobi drill, and when it dies, it dies.
All right, getting ready to call it a night. Got a lot done on this one. We've got the frame plates out, drilled, welded on, and then we started building off of the stock Samurai rear spring hanger. And there's kind of like a weird outboarding body mount thing. Incorporated all that, boxed it in. I could have just cut this all off and started fresh. I had a couple people post in the comments that, you know, I should do that. And I hear you. If I hadn't already started doing this, then I might consider that. I just think it's cool to keep some of the Samurai stuff in there, you know, building around it, keeping that stock Samurai look. I just think that's fun. So that's what I've done. I've really turned this box back here into a tank. This spring hanger is huge. It's all 3/16 plate. A ton of stretch in the back. I'll add it up here for you in a second, and we'll take a look at how much that is. I've got the rear axle in right now, and you can see there is a little spring perch in there with the center pin of this spring in there. So this is the approximate location of the rear axle. And I say approximate because once that spring gets compressed, flattened out a little bit, it will move the axle back maybe another inch or so. We'll see. Take a look at what we've been doing here. There is that frame plate all welded on. Honestly, not some great welds. I was having a lot of issues with my Lincoln welder. I found out I had a ground problem that I was just trying to push through, and that was not a good idea. And then later on, I had a gas problem where the regulator was messed up. After I got those things fixed, started having some good welds, but in that process, we got some really ugly ones. Where's my grinder? Where's my grinder? Right here where this V kind of shape is, that's where the stock Samurai spring hanger is. It's all boxed in now, so you can't see it. Might be able to see it a little bit. Yeah, you can see some of it in there, right there. Anyways, this hole in there, we moved it aft 3 inches. Then I started just boxing in the rest and plating the whole thing. And we've got a big gusset up here and a gusset right there and a little bit of a skid on the top. And then we bring the spring in and out through the bottom, and then, you know, the spring can ride on some rocks or whatever. So with the spring eyelet moved back 3 inches, that's a 3-inch stretch right there. And then the difference between a Samurai rear spring and a YJ rear spring is 3.5. So that's 6.5 inches right there. But this spring is 6 inches longer than a YJ spring. So we have 3 plus 3.5 plus 6 gives us 12.5, and then when this settles, it'll probably be about 13. So lucky 13 is the stretch. We've got the axle still under the body, but you can see the tire extends past. The wheelbase we're shooting for is 105. A lot of that is going to depend on how much I have to cut out of the front to fit the front axle on. That's going to kind of determine where that axle lies under there. I love the Samurai, and I want to keep as much of the Samurai as I can when I'm doing this. In the next video, what we're going to have to do is I have some rectangular tubing down there, and we're going to build a really simple bumper that just welds onto the frame, and then I'm just going to try to weld it to that tube as much as I can, gusset it heavily to those frame plates in the side. What we're going to do is have basically a 2x3 come off of it, hold a shackle hanger basically right above this, and then when the shackle's on there, it's going to hold it on. So very small, minimalist bumper. I'm hoping a very small shackle because I don't want the Samurai to be much higher than it is right now. If it could sit at this height, I'd be stoked with that. I think it's going to be a little bit bigger. We'll see. You can see from the side here, I wish that it would stay this height, you know, and cut out this rear just a little bit, and then I think that'd be perfect. But I have a feeling it's going to get a little bit higher. When you look at where that spring eye is in comparison to where the frame is, that spring eye is going to be probably 3.5, 4 inches lower than that. Of course, the spring is going to flatten out under the weight, but I don't know how much. These are about 2-inch lift springs. Oh my gosh, my garage is just freaking thrashed. I've got my other
40 up there. That puts it at 105, and hard to tell. Pretty long wheelbase compared to what we're used to on the Samurai. Try to get a shot from that angle. See if this one makes a little bit more sense. There's a little bit better shot, but it's a wide angle, so this front tire looks like it's a 44 and that one's a 40. But see if I switch to a closer. Ooh, that didn't help. Hopefully you guys can get the point. I would love it if this axle would stay here. You know, just cut out the minimum amount here, trim that bumper. I think that'd be cool. It looks pretty rad like this. Here's the front axle just rotting up here. All the parts laying out on the piece of cardboard over here to put back together on the 60, but holy smokes, I've got a lot of stuff to do before that happens. I actually had a lot of fun doing this part, just, you know, a lot of cutting and welding. Cutting is not fun, and the welding, I'm in a lot of, you know, uncomfortable positions, and I can tell you what, I suck at welding upside down. Horrible, horrible. I need to watch some more videos and get some more practice doing it. Probably gonna have to grind those ones down, all the ones on the other side, because the first time I flop this thing, I'm gonna get laughed at for the welds, not even the wheeling. But it's been fun, and I'm really digging it. I'm really excited to get this rear sitting on its own. Then we'll pull the front axle, give that over to Frankie so he can finish out his Samurai, and we'll get on that front. I'm stoked. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see the rest of these. This is a very early part of this build. We got a lot to go. Thanks for checking it out. See you guys in the next one.